We often hear people say, "I'll do it tomorrow," or "I'll start when the time is right." While it sounds harmless, this mindset creates a barrier to progress. The problem is that waiting for the perfect moment to take action may leave you waiting forever. The reality is there is no ideal time to start. Each moment we hesitate to begin is a moment lost, and the longer we wait, the further we drift from achieving our goals. Many people find themselves stuck in the cycle of someday. They wait for the perfect conditions to show up, thinking everything needs to fall into place first. But the truth is, those conditions may never come. If you keep waiting for everything to align perfectly, you're likely to find yourself in the same spot months or years later, feeling frustrated and stagnant. Procrastination, as it turns out, is a defense mechanism. We put things off to avoid the discomfort of starting. The uncertainty of the process or the fear of failure causes us to hesitate. But waiting for the right moment to begin often leads to more anxiety, more doubts, and ultimately more inaction. The longer we wait, the more our dreams and aspirations slip away. The key to breaking free from this cycle is to take action now, no matter how imperfect or unprepared you might feel. Progress comes not from waiting but from doing. Even if you don't know exactly what the next step looks like, simply moving forward can create momentum. Every major success story starts with someone taking that first, sometimes uncertain step. All you truly own is now. How many times have you glanced at your phone, planning to scroll for just a minute, only to look up and realize a whole hour has vanished? How often have you told yourself you'd begin something new? Pick up a hobby, start exercising, write that message, reach out to someone you miss, but pushed it aside because the timing didn't feel quite right? There's always an excuse. Too overwhelmed, too tired, not the right day. Maybe after the next big event or once things settle down. But if you're honest, you'll see those reasons are just filler. You're drifting through these pauses, passing time rather than claiming it. Here's something most people don't want to admit. This moment is all you truly have. Not next week. Not when you're less busy. Not when you've finally got the credentials, the savings, or the space to breathe. Even the air in your lungs right now isn't promised to stay. Still, we live as if we'll always get another chance. As if the version of ourselves who finally has it all together will eventually arrive to take the reins. I once knew someone who dreamed of launching her own cafe. She planned obsessively, researching suppliers, outlining the concept, even refining the coffee menu. But she never opened her doors. There was always one more thing. Not enough funds, not the perfect location, not quite finished with a training course. By the 4th year, her mother passed away unexpectedly. And only then did she realize something profound. She had spent far more time preparing than actually living. Stoic wisdom doesn't urge us to do everything in a rush. What it does teach is this: action must begin now. An idea locked in your head is just a thought. A dream left in limbo is just a wish. Marcus Aurelius said it plainly. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Not to scare us, but to awaken us. To remind us, every second we're here is an opportunity. You might not transform the world today, but you can rinse your plate after dinner. You can call the person you've been avoiding. You can pause this video and read a single page from that book that's been collecting dust. They're simple acts, but they're real. How many times have you chosen delay over doing? Now ask, what would shift if you took one small action every day, just one step, toward what matters? You don't need a grand leap. You just need to begin. The philosopher Kierkegaard wasn't a Stoic, but his insight lands deeply. Life is understood looking backward, but it must be lived moving forward. We recognize the value of time only when it's past, but we only shape our lives through motion, step by step. So right now, stop planning. Stop debating with yourself. Do the thing you've quietly known you need to start. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for the calendar to flip, because now is the best time you'll ever get. And if your breath shortens, your hands hesitate, your thoughts spiral, don't stop. Because in the next part, you'll see what makes this small act of movement so powerful. Movement silences the mind. You wake up with heaviness in your chest. No single reason. Just a haze, like you're walking underwater. Nothing is terribly wrong, yet everything feels off. You reach for your phone and scroll aimlessly. Maybe it'll numb the fog, but it doesn't. You put it down. Work waits, life waits, and yet you sit still. Minutes slip into hours. Time passes, but you remain stuck. Not because of outside barriers, but because of something inside you. A mental weight, a quiet resistance. Here's the hard truth. Worry doesn't evaporate by thinking less. It fades when you start to act. Even the smallest effort, a few steps, a 5-minute task, can break the loop. That's because motion untangles the knots that overthinking ties. Picture a mother juggling a dozen tasks. Her child is ill, the kitchen's in chaos, and her partner's out of town. She doesn't have the luxury of overanalyzing. She's doing. She's moving. She's tending, calling, cleaning. She's still anxious, maybe even scared, but she's not paralyzed. Why? Because she's engaged. Meanwhile, you stare at a blank email draft for 40 minutes. Not because it's difficult, but because your mind is caught in the space between intention and action. The Stoic Epictetus said it clearly. Don't just talk about your beliefs, live them. Overthinking is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a loop to be exited, and that exit is action. Notice how even a basic chore, folding laundry, sweeping the floor, stepping outside, can shift your mental state. Not because the task is profound, but because it interrupts the cycle. You're no longer lost in imagined futures. You've come back to reality. Look at David Goggins. Years ago he was struggling, overweight, depressed, working a dead-end job. No motivation, no spark. But instead of waiting for some wave of inspiration, he got up early, ran through the pain, and studied late. Day after day. No magic moment. Just movement before motivation. That's the reversal we miss. We think we must feel better before we begin. But beginning is what helps us feel better. Imagine holding a glass filled with murky water. Staring at it won't purify it, but slowly pouring in clean water clears it. Those tiny pores? They're small actions. They dilute the noise. Still waiting to feel right before you act? Here's the truth. Inspiration is fleeting. Perfection is a mirage, and neither are necessary. All that's needed is one micro step. Open a document. Clean a single plate. Make a 5-minute call. That first spark leads to momentum. Every time you delay, you're feeding the belief, I'm not capable yet. But each action whispers something else. I'm already moving. If you don't act, the anxiety deepens. If you do, it loosens its grip. Teach your body that motion is possible, even when fear tightens. Train your mind to prioritize movement over paralysis. Remind yourself, I don't need to feel ready. I need to begin. Because if you don't, you might fall into a deeper trap. Not fear, not laziness, the hunger for something perfect that never arrives. That's where we're heading next. Let's unravel the myth of perfection. The Mirage of Flawlessness. You've likely heard it before. Someone claiming they'll launch their dream when they have all the right tools. More experience, more capital, more confidence. Fast forward a year and they're still tweaking that perfect plan, stuck in an endless loop of revisions. This isn't caution. This is paralysis dressed as preparation. The Stoics had no use for ideal circumstances. They didn't believe in flawless beginnings. They believed in beginning. Seneca warned us, while we stall, life races ahead. And yet, we chase more strategies, more research, more time. But what we truly need? Action. Even if it's messy. Especially if it's messy. I knew a guy named Ryan, deeply passionate about food. His goal was a gourmet food truck. He experimented with flavors, read countless reviews, even perfected branding mock-ups. But 2 years passed. The truck never came. One afternoon, while sipping coffee in a crowded neighborhood, he spotted an elderly vendor pushing a modest cart selling churros under the blazing sun. No logo, no fanfare, just fried dough and a line of happy customers. Ryan asked the man how he got started. The old vendor looked up and said, "I was broke. I knew how to cook, so I showed up." That night, Ryan stopped browsing and bought a second-hand truck. Not perfect, but real. What held him back wasn't lack of knowledge. It was the belief that everything had to be polished before it could begin. We tell ourselves we're getting ready, but often we're just afraid of judgment, of failure, of not living up to the fantasy version of ourselves we carry in our heads. Be honest, how many tasks do you keep delaying? Not because you don't know what to do, but because you fear doing it imperfectly. The Stoic doesn't wait for ideal conditions. They simplify. They begin. They embrace forward motion. If you're spinning in circles, reduce the noise. Pick one thing, just one, and act on it. Dial the number. Click send. Publish the post. Make the appointment. Not because it's perfect, because it's real. And that is enough. Once you do, you'll realize what you lacked wasn't mastery, it was momentum. Perfection for many is just fear in disguise. A way to avoid risk while pretending to be productive. The more you wait for the right moment, the more you teach yourself to freeze instead of move. So pause now and ask, what have I been labeling as preparation that's actually just delay? If something comes to mind, don't dwell. Do. The lie that says, I need more time, is really covering the truth. You're scared. And that's okay. But courage doesn't eliminate fear. It acts anyway. Next, we'll confront that fear directly. Because the truth is, you will never feel fully ready. The illusion of readiness. You've been there. Dressed for the gym, earbuds in, water bottle filled, yet your feet stay planted. Not from exhaustion, but from hesitation. A quiet voice inside whispers, not today. Maybe tomorrow will feel easier. That feeling? It's not laziness. It's the illusion of not ready. And it's more dangerous than fear. It's convincing. It delays progress, holds back conversations, buries ideas, and postpones lives. But here's a truth the Stoics understood deeply. Readiness is not a doorway you wait to open. It's something you build by walking through the unknown. Marcus Aurelius didn't write philosophical meditations in quiet gardens. He wrote them in war camps, through illness, during political upheaval. Someone once asked, how do I become courageous enough to begin? The Stoic answer, by beginning. Confidence isn't found in planning. It's forged in discomfort. When your heart races and your hands shake but you show up anyway. Waiting to feel ready is like waiting to be fearless. The feeling never comes. But the moment you step forward, fear begins to shift. Think about a toddler learning to walk. They don't pause and consider their chances. They just try, fall, try again. They're not prepared. They're propelled by instinct to grow. But somewhere along the way we learn to delay, to second guess, to let fear wear a suit and call itself logic. How often have you said, "I'll do it when I'm more prepared," and months later you're in the same spot? The Stoic writer Seneca reminds us, wisdom doesn't arrive by accident, and neither does strength. They're shaped by choosing to act, especially when everything inside you resists. You don't conquer fear by waiting for it to fade. You reduce its power each time you move through it. Think of the moments when your voice trembled during a speech, your palms sweated in a meeting, your heart pounded before clicking send. You didn't feel brave, but you acted, and in doing so you became brave. That anxious feeling of not ready isn't a signal to retreat. It's a compass showing you where growth lives. Just like Ecclesiastes said, "Those who wait for perfect conditions will never plant. Those who study the clouds will never harvest." If you keep waiting for the storm to pass, you may never sow the seeds of change. Right now, as you read this, if there's something nagging at the back of your mind, an overdue message, a decision long delayed, a passion never pursued, don't pause to analyze it again. Stand. Open your phone. Take the smallest step. It doesn't have to feel right. It just has to be done. And as you do, notice how your mind slowly catches up, like a shadow following your motion. Reflection is good, but reflection without action becomes regret. So ask yourself, what would my life look like if I stopped waiting for confidence and started creating it one action at a time? We'll answer that more deeply in the next part, where the Stoics remind us that what matters most isn't the result. It's the action itself. The worth is in the doing. Picture yourself at the end of a long, exhausting day. No one's around. The kitchen sink is full. You sigh, roll up your sleeves, and start washing the dishes. Not because someone asked, not because you'll be praised, but because it needs to be done. This, right here, is the essence of acting with purpose. The Stoics called it living by reason, not for applause, not for recognition, but because the action itself is meaningful. Think of the small things. A mother straightening her child's blanket before school. A commuter picking up litter from the bus seat. A student reviewing their notes with no upcoming test. These aren't grand gestures, but they're quiet proofs of character. The Stoics believed that true value is never tied to applause. It's tied to integrity, to consistency, to doing what's right even if no one notices. You might rehearse endlessly for a presentation and still receive poor feedback. You might open your heart in an apology only to be ignored. If you act for outcomes alone, that would crush you. But if you act because it's the right path, you stand tall, regardless of how others respond. That's what it means to live aligned with principle. Not being swayed by praise, nor defeated by silence. You follow the compass of your values, not the noise of the crowd. Yes, it stings when someone who cuts corners gets rewarded while you hold yourself to higher standards. But in that moment ask, if I compromise my ethics to win, have I really gained anything? Every dishonest act chips away at the mirror of self-respect. You might not see the damage immediately, but the cracks are there. Living rightly, even in the face of inconvenience, lets you look yourself in the eye, without shame, without excuses. As Marcus Aurelius put it, a man's value is no greater than the goals he sets for himself. And if your goal is truth, honor, and responsibility, then you've already won something far deeper than success. Think back to a time when you helped someone and got no thanks. Did you regret it? Or did something in you quietly feel solid, even proud? That's where the Stoics find freedom, not in results but in right choices. They don't ask, will this pay off? They ask, is this the right thing to do? Like watering a plant, consistently, patiently, without rushing the fruit. Not every act bears immediate reward, but every right act strengthens your roots. We're conditioned to calculate every move, measure every benefit. But Stoicism flips the question. Stop wondering what you'll get. Start asking who you're becoming. If you've made it this far in the journey, you're not just listening, you're evolving. Each lesson isn't a separate idea. They're building blocks, forming a philosophy of clarity, resilience, and deliberate living. And in the next part, we'll expose one of the most powerful mental barriers of all. Fear of failure, not failure itself, is what truly holds you back. Fear isn't the fall, it's the freeze. There's a silent kind of failure that creeps in slowly, not the crash and burn kind, not the missed deadline or public mistake, but the kind that whispers, don't even try. You don't publish that article. You don't reach out. You don't pursue the dream you carry like a secret, not because you can't, but because you ask yourself, what if I mess this up? But maybe the better question is, what if you never give yourself the chance? The Stoics never promised a life without fear. What they taught instead was this: you act anyway. Fear doesn't disappear with time. It dissolves when met with movement, like a dark room that vanishes when you flip on the light. The first step weakens the power of hesitation. Courage, they believed, isn't the absence of nerves. It's showing up with them and choosing to step forward anyway. Epictetus asked bluntly, how long will you wait before demanding better from yourself? Because every day spent stalling is a day you're shaping a habit. Avoidance. We all know that moment. Staring at a message we want to send. An apology we mean. An invitation we long to extend. But our fingers freeze, heart races, mind spirals. So we close the app. Tell ourselves, maybe later. But later rarely arrives. And each of those quiet retreats, they compound. They train you to fear discomfort, to stop before you even start. On the other hand, every brave act, however small, rewires something inside. You become the kind of person who moves, who initiates, who lives. Think of toddlers learning to walk. They fall constantly, hard, messy, loud. But they never question if they should get back up. They just do. So ask yourself, what made us, as adults, start fearing things we once embraced as part of learning? The answer is simple. We began worrying about how we look, about being judged, about what if. But here's what's rarely said. Avoiding failure doesn't protect you. It quietly prevents you from growing. Fusajiro Yamauchi, who would later found Nintendo, wasn't a tech expert. He moved from card games to electronics with no blueprint. He didn't wait for full knowledge. He acted, and built momentum through courage, not certainty. Chances are you've already taken risks in your life. You've chosen paths with no guarantees, and you're still standing. Try this next time fear catches you off guard. Count backward from 5. When you reach 1, move. Say it. Click send. Take the first action, not as a trick, but as training, as proof to your brain. I act. I don't stall. The Stoics didn't wait to feel safe. They moved through fear and became stronger with each step. That's how resilience grows, not from planning but from practice, from making the call, saying what needs to be said, taking the risk, trying again after failing. Yes, failure might come, but silence teaches you nothing. Hesitation builds no muscle, only action does. So decide, who do you want to be? The person who falls and rises? Or the one who never moves and calls it safety? Because when you do act, when fear no longer commands your steps, what keeps you moving? It's not applause, not pressure, not even ambition. Something deeper. The belief that doing what's right is your responsibility. That's where we're headed next. Doing what's right isn't optional, it's essential. You already know what's right. The real question is, do you follow through? This isn't just a mental exercise. It's a daily test. Every moment life quietly asks, will you live according to your values or just talk about them? To the Stoics, ethics aren't theoretical. They're practical. Right action isn't something you choose when it's convenient. It's the very core of a meaningful life. You've seen it, maybe in others, maybe in yourself. Someone always saying they'll apologize, that they'll finally commit to their goals, that they'll treat people better, call their family more, stop making excuses. But the talk never turns to action. It's not that they don't care. They just never make the leap from knowing to doing. But knowledge without action is just wasted potential. Like a locked toolbox in a burning house. Think of this image. Wisdom without movement is like an arrow resting on a bowstring, perfectly formed but utterly useless. For the Stoics, integrity isn't about reputation. It's about living in alignment with your conscience. When it's hard, when it's thankless, when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius captured it simply. Stop debating what a good person is. Be one. Let me tell you a story that might reflect something in you. There was a man named James. He lived a regular life, commuting, working, scrolling through podcasts and books about improvement. He filled journals with ideas about being better, but none of it changed how he lived. Then one morning he got a phone call. His best friend had died, unexpectedly. The grief hit him like a wall. But so did the regret. All the messages unsent. All the times he said, next week. All the intentions that stayed intentions. That morning he didn't need more advice. He needed to act. He requested time off. Traveled to see his mother. Apologized to an ex. Signed up for a course he'd postponed for years. It didn't fix everything. But for the first time in a long time, he felt in alignment. His choices matched what he believed. What about you? What's one thing you've been postponing that you know is right? You don't need to fix everything, but you do need to move. Place your hand on your chest right now and ask, what do I know is right? And why haven't I done it? Not tomorrow. Not later. No. If you're unsure where to begin, here's a simple challenge. Write down 3 right actions you've been avoiding. Choose one. Complete it within the next 24 hours. Not to impress, not for a reward, but because it aligns with who you want to be. Every right act you take is a repetition, a strengthening of your inner character. Each one forms a foundation that holds when life becomes unpredictable. Don't confuse preparation with procrastination. Don't let "I'm not ready" become your daily excuse. When you know the path and still refuse to walk it, you're allowing the wrong to linger. This is the moment to cut through the hesitation. This is the time to live what you claim to believe. Your thoughts aren't enough. Your words aren't enough. Your steps, real tangible steps, are what shape your legacy. And once you've stepped onto that path, there's only one thing that will keep you going when the excitement wears off. Discipline. That's what we explore next, because inspiration fades, but discipline will walk beside you every single day. Real freedom is self-control. There's a contradiction most people never see. They believe freedom means doing whatever they want. But the Stoics knew the truth. Freedom only begins when you stop being ruled by your impulses. Sleeping late, eating without thought, scrolling for hours even when you're drained. It all feels like choice. But over time, it becomes a silent prison. Because when your emotions make decisions for you, you're not living freely. You're being pulled, moment to moment, by urges with no direction. The Stoics didn't chase comfort. They followed clarity. They built lives where values led, not cravings. Epictetus said it best. No one is truly free unless they master themselves. Just think about your own routines. You may set your alarm for dawn, only to hit snooze again and again. You might plan your evening around a book, then get lost in meaningless tabs and apps. It's not about shame. It's about noticing who's steering the ship, your deeper purpose or your passing moods. And here's the surprise. Discipline isn't about pushing yourself until you collapse. It's about designing your life with intention. Start small. Keep your word to yourself. Eat with awareness. Honor your work time. Rest with purpose. Each time you follow through, you reinforce this simple truth. You're in charge. And ironically, this control doesn't feel limiting, it feels liberating. Because now your life isn't full of internal battles. There's peace in knowing your actions reflect your priorities. Discipline gives you momentum. Not because it feels heroic, but because it creates consistency. And consistency builds trust within yourself. That's what real freedom feels like. No longer being dragged around by every whim. No longer feeling like a stranger in your own life. Ask yourself honestly, are my daily choices aligned with who I say I want to be? If not, that's your invitation. Not to punish yourself, but to realign. Try this. Pause for just one quiet moment. No music, no screens. Ask, what am I craving right now? And what do I actually need? Then act from that clarity, not the craving. This is how the Stoics lived. Not chasing highs. Not waiting for bursts of motivation. Just showing up every day with steady purpose. Discipline repeated daily is not restriction, it's power. And once you step into that power, you begin to notice something else. You no longer need to dance to everyone else's tune. You move at your own rhythm. And that is the next step. Walk to the beat of your own life. What exactly are you waiting for? A better job offer? Someone's approval? A clear signal that now's finally the right time? Each morning you wake up and scroll past motivational quotes, videos about being true to yourself. And yet you step back into a life paced by others' opinions. You might not even notice it, but deep down you've been waiting for permission to begin, to rest, to express who you are. You want to draw or paint or start a side project, but worry what people might say. You dream of traveling solo, taking a week to just breathe, but hesitate, afraid of how you'll be judged. You're holding back, not because you're incapable, but because you fear seeming different. The Stoics didn't ask us to retreat from the world. They asked something simpler but harder. Know who is controlling your direction. If it's not you, then who is it? Is it your boss? Your family? A crowd of strangers on social media? Even worse, it might be fear cloaked in politeness and hesitation. The truth is, you've likely already known what matters to you for a long time. But you've been putting it off, waiting for the green light. Here's the wake-up call. No green light is coming, and none is needed. You are the signal. You are the sign. Society might tell you to slow down. But how often does it say, go at your own speed? Some people thrive waking up at 5 a.m. Others hit their creative peak at midnight. There's no rule book that says one is more valid than the other. Why can't your breakthrough happen at 10 p.m. when the world is quiet and your thoughts are loud? Why must your goals be filtered through what others think is normal? Remember this: happiness doesn't need an audience, and no traffic light turns green just for your dreams. If you're waiting for things to look right to others, you might be sacrificing everything that feels right to you. One day you'll look back and ask, how many chances did I waste because I didn't want to look foolish? And the harsh truth? No one was watching. They were too busy hesitating on their own paths. While you delayed your life for them, they were delaying theirs for someone else. It's a cycle, and only you can break it. Epictetus said it with brutal honesty. If you want to grow, you must accept being misunderstood. Translation: you'll look strange, you'll be doubted, but that discomfort? That's the mark of authenticity. Even Nietzsche, who wasn't a Stoic, put it bluntly: if you can't obey yourself, you'll always be ruled by something else. So think of that one thing you've been resisting. Not because it's hard, but because no one around you is doing it. Got it? Now don't write a plan. Don't make a list. Just take 10 minutes today to start it. That's more than a task. It's a quiet declaration. This life is mine. Time won't pause. Crowds won't applaud. But you'll remember the day you took control. So stop waiting for someone else to say, go. You've had that power all along. Final message: stop waiting. This is your moment. You've just walked through 9 core lessons, 9 Stoic principles reframed for modern life. Each one has whispered the same truth. You've waited long enough. From realizing that now is all you truly own, to understanding that motion clears mental fog, to seeing perfection for what it is, a polished excuse. Each step has pointed you in one direction: forward. Discipline, courage, reason, personal rhythm. These aren't abstract ideas. They're choices, available in every moment, including this one. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need more time. And you certainly don't need permission. You need to act, to start, to risk, to speak up, to move toward the life that's been waiting on you. Most people live in the waiting room of their own lives, stalling, justifying, convincing themselves that someday is safer. But the Stoics remind us, peace doesn't come from hiding from the storm. It's found when you choose to step into it with strength. So if something stirred in you today, if a part of you paused, took a breath and said, yes, this is me, then don't just reflect. Respond. Take one action. Something small. Something real. Because that tiny act could be the turning point. If this message felt like a nudge, a challenge, a mirror, you're not alone. Thousands of us are learning to live with clarity, on purpose, without delay. And if you want to keep walking that path, stay connected. Not for me, not for views, but for you, for the version of yourself that refuses to hit pause again. There's no need to rush, but there's no need to wait either. Life doesn't hand out green lights. It hands out time. And right now you've still got some. Use it.